C'est la vie in French and así es la vida in Spanish. They both mean such as life or just that's life, and in today's words we would just say, shit happens. John W. Loftus, former minister and apologist, says in an article the following: in a godless universe shit happens without rhyme nor reason. Life is predatory from the ground up. Creatures eat one another by trapping unsuspecting victims in unusual ways, launching surprise attacks out of the blue, and hunting in packs by overpowering prey with brute force and numbers. Sometimes a creature just goes wacko for no reason at all. Humans are not exempt. Sometimes the wiring in our brains goes haywire and we snap. We too are violent, and we inherited this trait from our animal predecessors. We also show care and concern to our kith and kin, but we can lash out in horrific ways at what we consider an uncaring world. The argument to follow by Dr. David Hevel, who is an associate professor and a Christian, actually agrees, saying the statement from Loftus is operating under the misguided assumption that Christianity is a religion that teaches shit never happens. The Bible teaches us to enjoy life, God's bounty, and temporal happiness. It also promises, like a prescription medication, side effects may include pain, despair, suffering, lapses into grievous sin, weakness, apparent senselessness, persecution, misery, and physical death. Why atheists think that fallen man in a fallen world behaving exactly as the Bible tells us is somehow a problem for Christianity is unfathomable. Shit happens. The Hebrew word hevel appears in the book of Ecclesiastes 38 times. The word basically translates to meaningless or utterly futile. It's as if there's nothing you can do about it anyway. The Bible clearly tells us that hevel happens. Ecclesiastes is honest enough to point out that there's a glitch in the system. Contrary to some interpretations of Ecclesiastes, the author isn't saying that life is meaningless. It's just problematic. It's simply unsolid, like a cloud. It's absurd. It's hevel. Sooner or later, it'll happen to you, the ones you love, and even those you don't really care that much about. Hevel happens to everyone. Nobody wants it to happen to them, but it does. Our universe has very little respect for your moral standing, you know. That patch of black ice on the freeway. The bad results from your doctor. The other guy behind the wheel. The tree falling across your house. None of these things happen because you're good or bad. And deep down we all know that. Our Creator does not cause our problems and misfortunes. Some are caused by bad luck, some are caused by bad people, and some are simply explained, hevel happens. A consequence of merely being human living in a world of unchangeable natural laws. The painful things that happen to us are not punishments for our misbehavior, nor are they in any way part of some weird grand design by the Creator. The hevel that happens on this planet is not the Creator's will. It's not how we live, but that we do live. And sometimes you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and hevel happens. Have you ever heard of deism? Deism is the philosophical belief that God exists and is ultimately responsible for the creation of the universe. However, God does not interact directly with his created world. Why? I think we need to understand this approach by understanding what we call free will. C.S. Lewis points out what would happen with the loss of man's free will. He says, we can, perhaps, conceive of a world in which God corrected the results of this abuse of free will by his creatures at every moment, so that a wooden beam became soft as grass when it was used as a weapon, and the air refused to obey me if I attempted to set up in it the sound waves that carry lies or insults. But such a world would be one in which wrong actions were impossible, and in which, therefore, freedom of the will would be void. Nay, if the principle were carried out to its logical conclusion, evil thoughts would be impossible, for the cerebral matter which we use in thinking would refuse its task when we attempted to frame them. That's why Hevel happens. We are not artificial intelligence robots. We are beings with free will, which is the power of acting without the constraint of necessity or fate. The ability to act at our own discretion. So, don't take it personal. Don't feel hurt or betrayed when Hevel happens. Let me suggest that the bad things that happen to us in our lives do not have a meaning when they happen to us. Hevel just happens in the natural world. Now, back to the book of Ecclesiastes. It's a book of the wisdom gathered by a man known as Kohelet. Hard-earned wisdom. Life-learned stuff. Earthy stuff. Ecclesiastes is all about wisdom found on the journey of a life well lived on this earth. It is a real-life human reflection of a life rooted in hard work and suffering. And for much of the book, Kohelet reflects that the whole thing is meaningless, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. And he goes on, smoke, nothing but smoke. There's nothing to anything, it's all smoke. What's there to show for a lifetime of work, a lifetime of working your fingers to the bone? Everything is Hevel. There is an earthiness to Kohelet's wisdom. It feels much more Eastern than Western. The whole idea that God's creation in and of itself is enough. And that alone should be sufficient. We are told we should enjoy the present moment. To be here now. So, is there such a place as the wrong place, at the wrong time? Let's assume that we are so well behaved that we commit very few sins of the type that would backfire on us. Least not, instant karma. We are so likable that no one sins against us either. We are so lucky that we avoid accidents, natural hazards, carelessness, bad genes, and disease. Okay, so, guess what? If we live long enough, we'll eventually suffer anyway. We will get old and feeble. Kohelet said it, although I think we need to make some allowance because he was having a really bad day at the time. Here's his words. Oh, how sweet the light of day, and how wonderful to live in the sunshine. Even if you live a long time, don't take a single day for granted. Take delight in each light-filled hour, remembering that there will also be many dark days and that most of what comes your way is Hevel. I took another walk around the neighborhood and realized that on this earth as it is, the race is not always to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor satisfaction to the wise, nor riches to the smart, nor grace to the learned. Sooner or later bad luck hits us all. No one can predict misfortune. Like fish caught in a cruel net or birds in a trap, so men and women are caught by accidents evil and sudden. This is what the Creator does. He gives his best, the sun to warm and the rain to nourish, to everyone, regardless, the good and bad, the nice and nasty. Kohelet wisdom is found in his observations of the natural world. His understanding and acceptance of life's frustrations and uncertainties. His realization that Hevel happens.